David entered the luxurious dealership on a rainy afternoon, his old shoes squelching with each step on the pristine marble floor. His worn jeans clung to his legs, soaked from the downpour outside, and his tattered coat did little to protect him from the cold. The dealership, a shrine to automotive opulence, gleamed with rows of high-end sports cars, their polished exteriors reflecting the soft, ambient lighting. Impeccably dressed employees, clad in tailored suits and shiny shoes, moved with an air of effortless sophistication. David's entrance drew disdainful looks from the salespeople, their whispers barely concealed as they eyed his shabby appearance. He paid no mind to their arrogance, his eyes fixed on the object of his interest, a red convertible that stood out like a jewel among the other cars. The car's glossy finish and sleek lines captivated him. He walked up to it, running his hand reverently over the hood, feeling the smooth, cold metal beneath his fingertips. Despite his evident admiration, not a single salesperson approached him. Instead, their eyes followed him with a mix of curiosity and contempt, as if wondering how someone so clearly out of place dared to admire such a luxury. "Do you think he even knows where he is?" murmured Carlos, a tall man with an easy smile that didn't reach his eyes, to his colleague Luis, who chuckled quietly. "Maybe he's lost. Should we direct him to the used car lot?" Luis replied, adjusting his tie with a smirk. David continued his exploration, ignoring their barbs. He opened the door of the convertible, peering inside to examine the luxurious leather interior. The scent of new car leather was intoxicating, a stark contrast to the musty smell of his damp coat. As he closed the door gently, he caught sight of Emily, the young receptionist, watching him with a mixture of sympathy and discomfort. "Good afternoon," Emily said, her professional smile a touch warmer than her colleagues. "Good afternoon," David replied kindly, nodding before turning back to the car. Carlos, noticing Emily's interaction with David, decided it was time to intervene. He strolled over, his polished shoes clicking against the floor. "Can I help you?" he asked, his smile tight and insincere. David met his gaze, sensing the disdain beneath the polite veneer. "Yes, I'm interested in learning more about this car," he said calmly. "Oh, sure," Carlos replied quickly, his interest waning. "But are you sure this is the kind of car you're looking for? We have some more accessible models you might want to check out first." David smiled slightly, reading the insinuation clearly. He didn't respond immediately, instead continuing to admire the convertible. "I'd really like to know more about this model," he insisted, his tone unwavering. Carlos sighed, clearly impatient but bound by his professional obligations. He began to recite the car's specifications, his voice monotone. "This is the new sports model with a V8 engine, 450 horsepower, and an aerodynamic design that offers the best performance in its class." "Interesting," David murmured, gently closing the door. "And the price?" Carlos exchanged a glance with Luis, who was still snickering quietly in the background. "Well, you know," Carlos said, his voice dripping with condescension, "this car isn't cheap. We're talking about around $200,000. David nodded thoughtfully. "I understand. And what about financing details?" Carlos's irritation was palpable. "I can look up that information, but I really suggest you check out some more accessible models first." David thanked him with a polite smile, his demeanor calm and unbothered by the blatant judgment. He left the dealership, feeling the weight of their stares on his back. He knew he had been judged not just by his appearance but also by the color of his skin. But he didn't let it bother him. He had bigger plans, and this visit was just the beginning. Outside, the rain had slowed to a drizzle, the gray clouds parting slightly to reveal slivers of the setting sun. David walked away from the dealership with a determined stride, knowing that his next move would change everything. 2 days later, David returned to the dealership, this time dressed in a clean cotton shirt and jeans. While his clothes were still simple, they were neat and presentable. The rain had given way to a bright, sunny day, and the dealership was busier than usual. Customers milled about, admiring the shiny vehicles, while salespeople flitted around, eager to close deals. Emily was at the reception desk, her fingers dancing over the keyboard as she typed up some documents. She looked up as the doors opened and her eyes widened in recognition. "Good morning," she greeted him with a genuine smile. "Good morning," David replied, appreciating the warmth in her voice. Before Emily could say anything more, Carlos appeared beside her, his expression a mix of surprise and irritation. "You again," he said, his tone dripping with condescension. "Did you come back to see the more accessible models I mentioned?" David remained calm, ignoring the sarcasm. "Actually, I'd like to speak with the manager this time. Is he available?" Carlos's annoyance was evident, but he maintained a thin veneer of professionalism. "Mr. Martinez is in a meeting right now, but I can see if he can attend to you later." "I'll wait," David said firmly, crossing his arms. Carlos shot a look at Luis, who was attending to another customer, and they exchanged a smirk. "Are you sure you want to wait?" "It might take a while," Carlos said, trying to dissuade David. "I have all the time in the world," David replied, his voice steady. Seeing that David wouldn't be easily dismissed, Carlos shrugged and returned to his post, leaving David standing in the middle of the showroom. Emily, sensing the tension, got up and approached him. "Can I offer you a coffee while you wait?" she asked, trying to ease the situation. "That would be great." "Thank you," David said, grateful for her kindness. While Emily prepared the coffee, David walked through the showroom, examining the cars more closely. He noticed the intricate details, the impeccable finishes, and thought about the craftsmanship involved in creating such beautiful machines. Each car was a work of art, a testament to engineering and design. When Emily returned with the coffee, David was standing next to a sleek black sedan, admiring the leather interior. "Here you go," Emily said, handing him the cup. "This is one of my favorites. The design is really elegant." David smiled as he took the coffee. "I agree. It's an impressive car." They stood in silence for a moment, appreciating the vehicle. Emily's curiosity about David grew. "If you don't mind me asking," she began hesitantly, "what brings you back here? It seems you really want one of these cars." David took a sip of coffee before answering. "I've always had a passion for cars, but it's not just that. I'm here to see how people are treated. Sometimes appearances can be deceiving." Emily was intrigued by his response. There was more to this situation than she had initially perceived. Before she could ask more, Carlos reappeared, interrupting their conversation. "Mr. Martinez is available now. I'll take you to his office," he said with a displeased expression. David thanked Emily with a nod and followed Carlos to the manager's office. Mr. Martinez, a middle-aged man with graying hair and an authoritative air, sat behind a large wooden desk. "Mr. Martinez, this is David," Carlos announced, still with a touch of disdain in his voice. "Good morning, Mr. Martinez," David greeted, extending his hand. Mr. Martinez shook David's hand with a neutral expression. "Good morning. How can I help you?" "I'd like to discuss some issues regarding the purchase of a car," David said calmly, "and also about the service I received." Mr. Martinez raised an eyebrow, clearly interested. "Of course. Please take a seat." David settled into the chair in front of the manager's desk, feeling the tension in the air. He knew the revelation would come soon, but for now he wanted to give everyone the opportunity to show who they really were. For now he would wait, observing every move and every word. On Saturday, David returned to the dealership, but this time he wasn't alone. Beside him walked Roberto, an elegant man with graying hair, dressed in an impeccable suit. Roberto's presence exuded confidence and authority, immediately drawing the attention of the dealership employees. Emily, who was attending to another customer, noticed David and Roberto as they entered. Her eyes widened in surprise, sensing that something significant was about to happen. Carlos, ever attentive to new customers, quickly approached the two men, his demeanor shifting to one of exaggerated politeness. "Good morning, gentlemen. How can I help you today?" he said, his focus solely on Roberto, assuming he was the buyer. Roberto smiled politely. "We'd like to speak with the manager, please." "Of course, Mr. Martinez is in his office." "I'll take you to him," Carlos said, his voice filled with respect. As they followed Carlos to the office, Emily continued to watch, feeling a mix of curiosity and anticipation. She knew David was planning something but had no idea what it was. Mr. Martinez stood up as they entered, his expression neutral. "Good morning, gentlemen. How can I help you today?" Roberto took the initiative. "My name is Roberto Sanchez, and I'm a business consultant. I'm here on behalf of Mr. David Collins." Mr. Martinez's eyes widened in recognition as he looked at David. "Mr. Collins, of course. Please take a seat. How can we assist you?" David sat calmly, with Roberto by his side. "I'd like to discuss the purchase of one of your cars, but first I think it's important to address the service I received during my previous visits." Mr. Martinez frowned, clearly uncomfortable. "I'm sorry to hear that. May I ask what happened?" David leaned back in the chair, crossing his arms. "During my visits, I was treated with disdain by some of your employees. Carlos and Luis specifically judged my ability to purchase based on my appearance and the color of my skin, which I find unacceptable." Mr. Martinez cast an angry look at Carlos, who was standing at the door. "Mr. Collins, I apologize for the behavior of my employees. We will address this immediately." Roberto, observing the scene, intervened. "We're not here just to point out problems, Mr. Martinez. We're here to ensure this dealership maintains the standards of respect and professionalism." Carlos began to sweat, realizing the seriousness of the situation. "Mr. Martinez, I didn't know he was an important customer." "That doesn't matter," Carlos David interrupted, his voice firm. "All customers should be treated with respect, regardless of their appearance. I'm here to buy a car, but also to ensure the culture of this dealership changes for the better." Mr. Martinez nodded vigorously. "I completely agree, Mr. Collins. We will make the necessary changes." David stood up, followed by Roberto. "I hope so. As for the car, I'd like to finalize the purchase of the red convertible I saw on my first visit." Mr. Martinez smiled nervously. "Of course. It will be a pleasure to assist you with that." David shook the manager's hand. "Thank you for your understanding. I hope that the next time I come here, the experience will be completely different." As David and Roberto left the office, Emily approached them, her face full of concern. "David, I'm sorry for what happened. I should have done more." David smiled kindly at her. "Emily, you were the only person here who treated me with respect from the beginning. I appreciate that. Keep being who you are." Emily smiled, relieved. As David and Roberto left the dealership, the sun shone brightly outside, symbolizing new hope. For David, that visit was an important step toward changing attitudes. For the dealership, it was a moment of reflection and learning. The next morning, the dealership was buzzing with unusual activity. David Collins's visit and his shocking revelation had left everyone on high alert. Mr. Martinez gathered the employees for an emergency meeting in the showroom, his serious expression indicating the gravity of the situation. "Good morning, everyone," he began, looking around the room. "Yesterday, we had a very significant visit. Mr. David Collins, a customer many of you treated inappropriately, is actually the owner of the factory that produces our cars." A murmur of astonishment ran through the group. Carlos and Luis, standing in the back, felt their stomachs churn. Emily, standing nearby, looked at Mr. Martinez with a mix of relief and anxiety. "The behavior of some here was unacceptable," Mr. Martinez continued. "This reflects poorly on all of us and, more importantly, goes against the values we should uphold. Starting today, there will be changes." Carlos raised his hand hesitantly. "Mr. Martinez, I'd like to apologize for my behavior. I didn't realize the seriousness of the situation." Mr. Martinez looked at him firmly. "I'm sorry, Carlos, but apologies are not enough. Your attitude cannot be justified. You and Luis are fired with immediate effect." The room fell into absolute silence. Carlos and Luis were left speechless, unable to articulate a response. Emily watched, feeling a mix of justice and sadness for her colleagues. "For the rest of you, Mr. Martinez continued, we expect exemplary behavior from now on. We want this dealership to be known for respect and professionalism. We will focus on serving our customers in the best possible way. After the meeting, the employees slowly returned to work, murmuring about the recent events. Emily went to her desk, but her mind was filled with thoughts about David and the lesson he had brought for everyone. That afternoon, to everyone's surprise, David returned to the dealership. This time, he was dressed in an elegant suit, looking completely different, but with the same kind eyes. Emily was the first to see him and ran to greet him. "David, what a surprise to see you again," she said, smiling warmly. "Hello, Emily," David replied, shaking her hand. "I came to pick up my new car, but also to see how things are going." Emily led him to Mr. Martinez, who was in his office, visibly nervous. "Mr. Collins, it's a pleasure to see you again," the manager said, shaking David's hand more firmly this time. "The pleasure is mine, Mr. Martinez," David replied, sitting down. "I've heard about the changes you've made. I hope this brings a new beginning for everyone here." "Mr. Collins, you can be sure of it, Mr. Martinez affirmed. "We are committed to ensuring that all customers are treated with the respect they deserve." David nodded, satisfied. "Very well. I'm here to pick up the red convertible. Is it ready?" "Yes, of course, Mr. Martinez said, standing up. "I'll accompany you to it." They walked together through the showroom, where the employees watched with admiration and respect. The red convertible was prepared and shining, ready to be delivered to David. He smiled as he saw the car, feeling a wave of satisfaction. "It's perfect," David said, stroking the hood of the car. Emily, who was nearby, approached with an envelope in hand. "David, here are the car's documents. Everything is ready for you." David took the envelope and looked at Emily with gratitude. "Thank you, Emily. You were the only one who treated me with respect from the beginning. I'd like to express my gratitude in a special way." Emily was surprised. "No need, David. I just did what was right." "Even so," David said, pulling a business card from his pocket and handing it to her. "If you're ever interested in a new opportunity, contact me. I'm sure someone like you would make an even greater difference anywhere." Emily looked at the card, feeling honored. "Thank you very much, David. I'll think about it." As David got into the car, he waved to the employees watching from afar. "Remember, respect is fundamental. Treat everyone as you would like to be treated." With those words, he started the car and drove out of the dealership, leaving an indelible mark on everyone there. The lesson he taught was not just about business, but about humanity and decency. In the days that followed, the atmosphere at the dealership changed significantly. Emily was promoted to a position of greater responsibility, and the new employees hired were selected based on their values and attitudes, not just their sales skills. David, for his part, felt a sense of accomplishment. He knew that his visit to the dealership had been more than just a car purchase. He had planted seeds of change and was sure they would grow and flourish, leading to a culture of respect and empathy. Emily's days at the dealership became increasingly fulfilling as she took on her new role with dedication and enthusiasm. She felt proud of the changes happening around her, knowing she played a significant part in them. One afternoon, while she was reviewing some reports in her office, she received an unexpected call. It was Roberto, the business consultant and friend of David. "Good afternoon, Emily." "I hope you're well," Roberto began, his voice calm and professional. "Good afternoon, Roberto." "I'm fine, thank you." "And you?" Emily responded, curious about the reason for his call. "I'm great, thank you. Actually, I'm calling to discuss a proposal with you. David and I are very impressed with how you've handled everything at the dealership. We'd like to invite you to a meeting at our headquarters," Roberto explained. Emily was taken aback, feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness. A meeting at the headquarters? About what exactly, she asked, trying to contain her curiosity. "David has some projects in mind and believes you could contribute significantly. We'd like to discuss this in detail with you," Roberto said. Emily took a deep breath, understanding the importance of the invitation. "Sure, I'd be honored. When would the meeting be?" "How about tomorrow at 10 in the morning?" We can send a car to pick you up, Roberto suggested. That would be great. I'll be ready, Emily confirmed, feeling a surge of excitement. The next morning, an elegant car arrived at her house promptly at 9 a.m. Emily got in, feeling a bit like a character in a movie. The driver took her to the factory headquarters, an imposing glass and steel building that reflected the sunlight. She entered, impressed by the modern and sophisticated environment. Roberto met her in the lobby and led her to the meeting room. David was already there, sitting at the head of the table, looking over some documents. He stood up as they entered. Good morning, Emily. David greeted her warmly, shaking her hand. Good morning, David, she replied, feeling a bit more at ease. Please, have a seat, David said, indicating a nearby chair. I'm glad you accepted our invitation. Emily smiled. I'm curious to know more about these projects. David nodded and exchanged a glance with Roberto. Emily, since our first interaction, I've been impressed by your professional and respectful attitude. In today's competitive environment, we need people like you to help us lead with integrity. Roberto placed a folder in front of Emily. We are developing a customer service training program and would like you to lead this project. Emily opened the folder and saw details about the program, including goals, strategies, and resources. She looked at David and Roberto, feeling a wave of enthusiasm and responsibility. This is incredible. I'd love to be a part of this. We knew you'd say that, David said, smiling. Your experience at the dealership and your attitude are exactly what we need to ensure our values are conveyed to all our dealerships. Emily spent the next few hours discussing the project's details with David and Roberto. They talked about the importance of creating a culture of respect and empathy, and how the training could transform the customer experience in all the factory's dealerships. When the meeting ended, Emily felt inspired and motivated. Max and Roberto accompanied her to the exit, ensuring she knew how much they valued her. We're confident you'll do an excellent job, Emily, David said, shaking her hand again. Thank you for accepting this challenge. Thank you for the opportunity, David. I'm eager to start, she replied, smiling. On the way back, Emily reflected on her journey from the first encounter with David at the dealership to that moment. She felt she had grown both professionally and personally. The experience taught her about the importance of respect and how small actions can have a significant impact. Emily threw herself into the new customer service training program with zeal. She developed detailed plans, organized workshops, and spent countless hours refining the curriculum. Her dedication paid off, and soon, the program was ready to launch. A few weeks later, Emily received a call from David. He sounded more excited than usual. Emily, I have incredible news for you, he said enthusiastically. What is it, David, she asked, her curiosity piqued. We've received an invitation to participate in an international customer service conference in Paris. They want you to present our training program and share our story, David explained. Emily was speechless for a moment. Paris? That's amazing, David. But why me? You should do the presentation. You're the right person for this, Emily. You've lived this transformation from the beginning. Your testimony is powerful and inspiring. Besides, it's a great opportunity for you and our team, David insisted. Emily felt a mix of nervousness and excitement. I'll do my best, David. Thank you for trusting me. The following days were a whirlwind of preparation. Emily dedicated herself to preparing an impactful presentation with detailed slides and inspiring stories. She wanted the audience to feel the same passion and determination that had transformed her dealership. Finally, the day of the trip arrived. Emily boarded a flight to Paris, accompanied by David and Roberto. When the plane landed, the beauty of the City of Light left her enchanted. The charming streets, lively cafes, and stunning architecture created a magical atmosphere. On the day of the conference, Emily got up early, anxious and excited. The conference hall was filled with professionals from various parts of the world. David accompanied her to the stage, giving her a final vote of confidence. You'll do great, Emily. Remember, everyone here is eager to hear your story, David said, his encouraging gaze steady. Emily took a deep breath and stepped onto the stage. The lights blinded her for a moment, but she soon adjusted and found David's encouraging gaze in the front row. She began to speak, sharing the dealership's journey from David's first visit to the significant changes they implemented. She spoke about the challenges they faced, the lessons learned, and how the culture of respect and empathy transformed not only customer service but also the lives of the employees. Emily highlighted personal stories of satisfied customers and how small acts of kindness made a big difference. The audience was completely captivated, applauding at various moments and absorbing every word. When Emily finished her presentation, the room erupted in applause. She felt a wave of fulfillment and gratitude. After the presentation, many participants approached Emily to congratulate her and ask questions. Executives from various companies wanted to know more about the training program and how they could implement it in their own organizations. One of the participants, a middle-aged man with graying hair and a warm smile, stood out. He introduced himself as Miguel, CEO of a renowned chain of European dealerships. "Emily, your presentation was exceptional. I'm impressed with the impact you and your team achieved," he said. "Thank you, Miguel." "It was a challenging but very rewarding journey," Emily responded. "I'd like to invite you to visit our dealerships and help us implement a similar program." "I believe we can learn a lot from you," Miguel said. Emily felt honored. "It would be an honor, Miguel. Let's talk more about that." Back at the hotel, David and Roberta congratulated her on the presentation. "You are incredible, Emily." "I'm so proud of you," David said. "Thank you, David. That means a lot to me." "And thank you for believing in me from the beginning," Emily replied, her eyes shining with gratitude. The days in Paris were filled with meetings, networking, and some leisure time exploring the city. Emily enjoyed every moment, knowing that this experience was shaping her future in ways she never imagined. When they returned, the dealership was more lively than ever. The employees were inspired by Emily's trip and the story she brought back. She organized a meeting to share her experiences and discuss new ideas for further improving customer service. "We have an incredible opportunity to continue growing and learning," Emily said during the meeting. "Each of you is part of this transformation, and together we can achieve even more." The employees applauded, feeling motivated and valued. The culture of respect and empathy continued to flourish, bringing positive results for both customers and the team. David, for his part, continued to support Emily and her team, knowing that true success lay in how they treated each other. He visited the dealership regularly, offering guidance and celebrating achievements. David and Emily's story spread through the city, inspiring other businesses to review their practices and place more value on the human aspect of business. Emily, now a recognized and respected leader, knew her journey was just beginning. She continued to work tirelessly to promote a culture of respect, knowing that with each small act of kindness and empathy, she was making a difference. And so, the journey of David and Emily continued, always seeking new ways to create a positive